What does a bloke do when he loves bashing metal and making stuff, but really should be doing instrument electrical? Well, he procrastinates. That's what he does. And then he goes and finds other metal bashing things to do instead. I'm actually waiting on my dad to rock up. He's here next weekend, and he's got more experience and more knowledge about wiring up little aeroplanes than I do. So I'm fine with waiting for him to rock up with all of the bits, the extra bits that we need to do to start turning all of this stuff with the wiring hoo-ha into making something that works. Procrastination number one is I've made myself a new access hatch to the bottom of the pilot's control stick. Made life so much easier getting to those bolts there to undo everything. And later on in life, I reckon it'd be a handy thing just to keep an eye on what's going on in there. What I'm working on at the moment is throttle cable. So, well, I've done the throttle and mixture. That's them here, so mixture and throttle. I've got to make, that's what this is, the carb heat. I'm going to make a little thing here. Sort of very similar to this arrangement. These cables I scored off another aircraft, and they're too long for what I want. So that's why I've routed them this way. So they go in behind here, and they do a big loopy. I've got to tie it all up yet and tie it all together. They do a big loopy, and then they come back along and go along the floor underneath the rudder tube out to the firewall out there. So we're just making up another little bracket for that. I've also been doing stuff to the firewall as well in getting ready for fitting it up to the airframe. So here is our throttle and mixture, and up there will be where the carb heat will go through. This is just a stiffener I made up for the fuel line that'll pass through, and this hole up here will be for the electrical that comes from all of the hoo-ha when we do that. This bracket here is for my fuel strainer, so that will go in like that, and then yeah, so I just wanted to stiffen that up a little bit and support that. Over here will be where the battery goes. When I get it, I'll nut out. It'll be something similar to this, like a stiffen arrangement up there to hold it all in place, and then up here will be electrical stuff. That's the plan so far. So obviously I haven't finished it off. When I get more bits, I'll nail down exactly where they go. There we go, carb heat on, and then carb heat off. Cables all installed, found a little bracket to make here, and then this one, and then we've got our throttle and everything like that, so plenty of room to move, and then still access to the elevator trim. I want to keep all of the engine controls on the left side of the cockpit. So we've got switches, starter, battery, throttle, mixture, carb heat, elevator trim. The idea, I want to keep use my left hand for everything while keeping my right hand on the control column. So that way when I'm flying around, I don't have to let go to manipulate or adjust anything. That's the theory. And then on this side, one day I think I might somehow manage to put a iPad and then have it slide up and over or something like that. Jury's still out on that one, and we don't need to worry about that just yet. But the brain's still ticking. Sometimes, to procrastinate even more while you're procrastinating, is to pat the dogs. That way you can think of other things to procrastinate about. Another form of procrastination is to dummy fit the firewall just to see what it looks like again. Obviously they're the engine control cables there, carb heat, throttle and mixture. And yes, I haven't locked them in exactly where they got to be because we got to fit the engine first, but this one's obviously too long and he'll have to put a bit more of a big loopy in the back of the fuselage there where I pointed out before. These ones on the other side, probably a little bit on the tight side, so we'll have to allow for that when we fit or make up the airbox. Things to think about. So it was worth it. So it turns out that there's actually a fair bit to procrastinate about while I'm procrastinating about electrical. There's always polishing to do also, worst case scenario, but I've also got fuel tank stuff to finish off, landing gear to finish off. I've got to make that airbox for this thing here, but I don't want to do that until the engine is bolted onto the front, because then I can get the right numbers and everything like that. Actually, I could do the landing gear next because the center section is off and it'll actually fit in the shed that way. Yes. Turns out procrastination does actually have its benefits. Anyway, back at it later.